Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the DDT Podcast. It is episode 4. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I know you all can already see the graphic, but I've already had 3 guests on here, and this one is going to be a first for me on my show, because the other 3, we've already had a wide range of cast from Gex to Bundy to Austin Zero. All have had different journeys and experiences in the wrestling world so far, but to my knowledge, out of the 3 I've already interviewed, this person that I'm bringing on transitioned, I should say, from not just being part of the wrestling creator wrestler community, but also into the actual ring itself, into a wrestler. And I think that's incredible. I think it's awesome. I'm so excited to have this person here. But on a personal note, out of the 4 people that have been on this show so far, this person has been with me in terms of knowing them the longest out of all of them. And as you can see by the image, this person is decorated in my series. He is somebody who I've known since around 2016, 2017. He is a 5-time world champion in my series, held the championships for a combined 41 episodes. He's a 1-time Intercontinental Champion, 3-time United States Champion, 2-time Hardcore Champion, 2-time Raw Tag Team Champion, and to equate the length of time, he has had a total time of 80 episodes as a champion, 25th out of over 200 characters that have been champions in my series. 25th all time. He's been involved in many storylines, both as his own character that you see the name right there, and also helping me in NXT writing, as well as main roster writing, other people's characters. An incredible person that I've gotten to know, a wonderful guy, very knowledgeable, and also incredibly dedicated, not just to my own series, but to everything that he's done that I know of. May I introduce all of you to a 1-time main eventer of my WrestleMania, 2-time semi-main eventer, as well as, without a doubt, a future Hall of Famer in my universe mode, the creator and mastermind behind the character, the headhunter, Colt Lee. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you for having me. 2016 is when I got my start here. Wow. Kind of hard to think. That's really weird to think about, actually.
Is it? Is it that weird? I mean, it's just been a long time.
Colton's been around forever now. It seems like he's transitioned from my original character that I've had for so many years, Philly Butcher, to Colt now, or Colt King if you're in certain leagues.
That is true. I mean, for me, the iteration's always been Colt Lee, but I feel like even when you've stepped away and haven't watched all the time, I feel like the Colt Lee character has reached that legendary status due to how you were able to help me maneuver it, just in the decision-making process through the character in the early stages, and then we just took it from there, and I'm still using
them. Yeah, and literally once, like you said, once I kind of like stepped away from it for a little bit, I kind of just let you keep going with him, and then let you do your own things with him.
I mean, I'm insanely grateful. So, from me to you, even though I haven't gotten the chance to tell you over the past couple of years, I know I've expressed it before, but I again thank you for allowing me to use the character for so long and also get to do so many creative storylines. I mean, I've enjoyed using the Brainbuster off the top rope as a super finisher, from great storylines against Harvey himself, friend turned rival, to great rivalries with myself, Class Par, Blake Daniels. There's so many great characters that have gotten to be intermixed or intertwined with your character, and without your willingness, I feel like everyone's missing out on a key character in the series. So thank you.
I mean, yeah, and I think that big thing was it did seem like there was just that one, and it's no offense to you or anyone else, it just seemed like there was that one character that was missing to make it help stand out. And I think Colton really helped you out with that. And I am grateful that you decided after I kind of stepped away for a little bit to kind of keep using him because I didn't think you would. I honestly thought you would just kind of, I don't know, kind of just retire him after a while and then just not use him.
Well, funny enough, I mean, I know we had on and off conversations, specifically after season, I think it was 6 that I did. That would be like 2018 time frame, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
Mm-hmm.
you were kind of just like, no, I'm speaking, I'm not speaking verbatim with your words. I'm paraphrasing, but pretty much it was
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, I wanna fight Samuel Armstrong at WrestleMania, and pretty much just hanging up because I've done everything. That might have been around season 8. I can't remember. It was either season 7 or season 8. I'd have to look it up. But I was just thinking to myself, and I remember talking to Panda, the guy who made Class Par, about it, as well as like 2 other people, and they really.
Another guy I still talk to.
Yeah. Now he might deny it. I think Panda was the one that I talked to about it, who really was adamant about, dude, you can't retire him that way, because that's just one legend versus another legend. And Colt Lee's character, you gotta do next man up. Like, what's he gonna do next? So it was trying to figure out what can I do with the Colt Lee character next. And granted, especially after season 6, there was definitely a lull period where I'm trying to figure out what Colt Lee's gonna do. I'm pushing other guys, so he kind of falls to the wayside. He's doing tag teams. He's in factions. Season 9, he got put with EC3 and Randy Orton, but still winning tag team gold. But
Well, isn't that where Sante Guerrero came in?
well, Sante came in around season 5, so he was on the up and up. And that's another character. I'm so glad you brought up Sante Guerrero, because I'll never forget. That's another guy where he came in through the door in season 5 in NXT, and you were all willing to basically say, hey, I want my character to go down to NXT, and I want to face him on just an NXT episode. And I think you asked me, has any world champion gone down to the NXT brand to defend the title? And I said, no, I've never written that. And you're like, great, I want to do it. I want to basically make this guy and elevate this guy in just a match with me. I want to experience him in the ring and see what you do with it. And I remember talking to Grudge, the guy who made him, and Grudge was like, really? Like, this guy wants to compete with me? I said, yeah, he wants to do something with you. He's like, well, am I winning? I was like, no, you're not winning. And he was just like, oh, well, hell yeah, I want to do it. Absolutely. Like, it doesn't matter. I get to face this guy. So, yeah, I mean, it was sooner,
Like,
but no, you're good.
and I wanted to, and like you said, I wanted to push this younger talent, and this was one of the ones that I wanted to push because I saw a lot of myself in Guerrero, the way he acted and his character persona, like stuff like that. Like you could definitely see there was a little bit of myself in there, and that was just the way to help build him into a character that I know he could be. If you face the champion like that, you know you have something. You know you have something.
I mean, to your point, the character had the it factor, and I feel like there's you you and I have both seen, both in real life and even in universe mode, there are those characters that you meet and you see, and you just know that they have the potential to go places or to elevate, and you just got to find the right buttons or the right people willing to help elevate it with the right story. And yours was just like, I mean, we'll keep it simple. My character was basically being insulted by, I can't remember which character you were feuding with for, oh, it might have been me, because I won the Royal Rumble that season. But I think Harvey had taunted you. Somebody had taunted you, and you were just like, well, then I'll do something. Oh, that's what it was. It was like some insult. Some character was saying something along the lines of how you never elevated talent. You were too scared to really defend your title and take chances because you were like a 5-time world champion at that point, or a 4-time, I think, at that point. And you were just like, all right, let me.
Wasn't that the last rivalry we had with Class Par?
Can you say that again? My apologies.
Wasn't that the last rivalry me and Class Par had at that point? Pretty sure.
It might have been the last big rivalry with you and Class Par.
I'm pretty sure. I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was me and Class Par, because we had this thing going on because we came in at the same time. Or I had just come in and Class Par was there for a little bit, and I kind of showed him up a little bit. And I think that's what kind of, I don't know, pushed him over. He can correct me on it. But I feel like it had to do something with Class Par, and then it led to you getting involved, Harvey getting involved, and it led to I'm pretty sure it led to something else then too after that.
Well, that sounds about right, because season 5 was kind of that peak, just epicness of, I don't know, it just felt like star power was everywhere you looked. And it's funny enough, if anybody's looking for that match, I just want to put it out there for that Sante versus Colt Lee match. Go to season 5, episode 52. It is the main event. That was such a fun match to do, and so much fun. That was when you were Universal Champion, because that was 2 episodes before you and I got to main event WrestleMania together, and that's where I think my career was on the line against you. I'm
pretty sure.
Yes, yeah. And then right afterwards, Scott Cole cashed in on me. What a show! What a show!
I forgot about Scott Cole. Oh my god.
Yeah, I want to have him on the show, but I haven't talked to him in like a year, I think.
I haven't talked to half that group in years, ever since they decided to ban me from the league. When I can talk about that.
Oh, well, I never banned you, but
no, it was other people.
Oh,
it was
okay.
Other ones.
Okay.
Other ones that I could not get along with, because they,
Well, I remember
MK specifically.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, I think what's kind of the other thing with you and Class Par coming up at the same time. This is what's cool about those classes. I think you were the second wave along with Class Par, and you kind of skipped NXT. I think you were on for like 3 shows, and then you're straight to the main roster with Harvey.
I believe, because me and Harvey came in as the tag team.
You and Harvey never won NXT Gold. You guys were barely there. You guys were straight to the main roster pretty much, and off to the races. Yeah. You guys were feuding with like me and Samuel Armstrong, and I mean that's another rivalry. You and DJ RC, that one was crazy too.
That one I remember distinctly, because that was the first big rivalry I had with him. And you saw how brutal it turned out to become.
Oh yeah, 100%. That was, I think, season 3, because you were the semi-main event that season, and then you were the semi-main event in season 4, or was it season 2? Either way, you were in a lot of WrestleMania. You're basically in every WrestleMania. So.
Pretty much. Yeah.
But I think so I hit that lull period in season 9, and I put you with Randy Orton in EC3, but it was helping bolster EC3. And you and Randy won the tag team titles. And then I had this idea where I was going to try and put the United States title on you. But I think that was TLC, that TLC pay-per-view before the Royal Rumble. And the game animated your leg to basically lock uptight against Bobby Lashley, and I just played it off as a knee injury. You wound up still participating in the Rumble. You got eliminated because you were holding off surgery. And then you were pretty much off screen until the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So I'll actually peel back the curtain for you, because I don't know if you've been following Season 10, and I know I haven't finished, but I'll peel back the curtain for you, and as well as the viewers here. So the idea that I had was that you were probably going to win the United States Championship and then hold it till the Elimination Chamber, or you were going to hold it till WrestleMania. You were going to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal no matter what. And the reason for that is because I talked with Panda, and I thought, okay, I have an idea of who I want to have retire in Season 10, but I want to do a big story, several key things with Colt Lee. Number one, I wanted to give you the United States title to give you that individual credibility back. I mean, you're already a legend. You could win any championship and people would care. But I mean in terms of building you back up toward a world title run. So, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was what I was going to have you win. The 5-time world champion wins it, and then you were probably going to challenge for the world title, but it was going to be like 1 or 2 shows. And this is where the injury part came into play. Because of that whole animation at that pay-per-view, I was like, oh, this is perfect. He's going to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal with this busted leg. In storyline, he's just going to go away. He's going to get surgery. We'll bring him back way down the line, like after SummerSlam in Season 10. And when he does, I'll treat it like it's the biggest deal because, well, it's a 5-time world champion coming back, and you're gunning straight for the world championship. Nothing else is in your sights but becoming a record-tying 6-time world champion. Can he do it? And, of course, we're putting you up against Blake Daniels, who's, I believe, now a 6-time world champion as well. So
the history there.
Exactly. So Blake Daniels and AJ Styles are 6-time world champions. You're a 5-time. If you win, you join that elite club. But if you lose, it's that one that got away. And it's, in my opinion, you have 2 guys who've main evented WrestleMania. I was like, this match at, I think it was Backlash I did it at. It was so good. I loved it. And it felt just huge to me. But that's because of the work you put into it, the character, the dedication to it, the ideas that you had, the storylines. And then ultimately, I obviously had you lose. But the big story was that an upcoming villain, Chris Hall from NXT, was going to come up and have a rivalry with you, and we were going to go to WrestleMania with it. I'm obviously not going to talk about what's going to happen, only because the story's not done. But that's pretty much where it was going to go from there. And It's about elevating one more talent in a big way. Heel versus heel. Well, at this point, you're kind of a quasi-face, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize, I spent many nights, shall I say, talking with you on how we got the character the way it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Not only you, but also with Harvey, about getting this character the way this headhunter gimmick wasn't something I came up with like right off the bat. Like, this took, like, how can I make it almost a thing at this point? Like, he is a headhunter, but he's hunting also for the gold, but not just as a person, but to prove why he belongs here and why he had all these championship runs and everything.
No, I 100% agree. I mean, there was a lot of time spent. The headhunter gimmick, for those who don't know, is basically, it started with a brain buster being delivered to somebody's skull on the top turnbuckle, and you won the match that way. And if I remember correctly, the character was clasp hard.
It was an exposed turnbuckle.
Steel cage.
Top turnbuckle. Steel cage.
Mm-hmm. And that was for the World Championship, because you fought Armstrong in Hell in a Cell, No.
Yes.
Yes. I have that right.
Yes.
Class Par fought Raymond Cruz, and whoever won that match would fight you right before Survivor Series, I think season 4 or 3. And then that steel
I
cage is where you
think it was,
introduced it.
yeah, I think it was 4 because it was ended up being Class Par, and that was, I think, the second of our meetings. I'm pretty sure it was Class Par. I could be wrong.
The steel cage was for sure Class Par. I mean, those two matches, Armstrong versus you, and then there was
Hmm.
DJ and Class Par. Class Par won. He fought you in the steel cage. You hit him with the brainbuster and won the match. And then I think I put Class Par on the shelf for a bit, just a little bit.
Yeah. So I remember. Yeah. So it ended up. I wanted. I had to do everything possible in that match, as I remember distinctly. It was It was everything on the line for that match, and that's when I'm pretty sure the turnbuckle came off on. I might be wrong on that, but I do remember the brainbuster off of the top rope because it was something that wasn't done yet, and to hit it in the steel cage was something that had yet to be seen.
Well,
So,
I think to your point, it helps solidify the character as this lethal kind of villain. I think it gave you because we ran with that idea and we really turned it
well,
into
we
the
not only had the brainbuster, but I also at that point was using the pile driver.
well, I still have you use the pile driver.
Well, yeah, but even still, though, like like even like it wasn't just the brainbuster really that was the whole headhunter gimmick though either. We had not only just the brainbuster, but we also had the pile driver and shit like that. That was also doing the same thing.
Well, I think you came up with the idea for your signature move to be called the Full Metal Jacket, and then I think I came up with the Colt 45. No, I think you came up with both. Now that I
I
think
had
about it,
I had Colt 45 way before that. I also did come up with the Full Metal Jacket.
yeah, that sounds about right. Because I think I was looking up bullets, like bullet names for the rounds, because of guns.
Yeah.
Colt 45 was the gun, and then I was just looking up bullet names and I was listing just guns, and then you were like, why don't you just call it Full Metal Jacket? I think was how the conversation went, and I was like, that's it. Yep, we're running with it. We're running with it.
And it only made sense because if you had the Colt 45 as the normal move, but then you had the Full Metal Jacket, which was the more devastating version. So yeah,
Either way, I think the character. I mean, I'm not even gonna hide it. I already told you. Um, the character's going in the Hall of Fame, regardless of whether I finish the series or not. He's one of the most decorated talents of all time. One of the most decorated characters. Um, and overall, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit because did you wind up before we met? How involved or how long were you in CAW before you met me and we did universe mode?
so I really wasn't. I created people, but it was just kind of like simple creations, and I was never online because at that point I was playing on the Nintendo Wii, so I would just play by myself, create these characters because they weren't in the game, and I just kind of went from there with it. It wasn't until 2K15, and then I found Harvey, and we started playing together. And then he mentions you about bringing in, or it was a little bit afterwards. We were talking, and then he mentioned about you having a universe mode because me and him were doing the universe mode for a while there. So he mentioned to me about having Colton or Colt come in, because I had just fairly recently made Colt, and that's the one big thing that um people don't realize. Colt around that time was a fairly newer creation of mine. And when I was talking to Harvey and you about it, Harvey was more instinctive on me bringing in Philly Butcher than Colt Lee. Well, like I said, I had just gotten into call at that point. No one really truly realized I've used Philly Butcher in multiple different games, went by different names for years. And I wanted something different. So I created Colt Lee on something that I wanted to see, which was the brutality, the I wanted the hard hitting style, and that's where Colt Lee comes in. And then, like I said, I mentioned to you about, or it was Harvey mentioned to me about you, and then I was thinking it over for a little bit, and it wasn't until you started a little bit after you started your universe mode. It wasn't until a little bit afterwards that I came in. Pretty sure it's how I remember it.
No, that sounds about right. I think you came in at the end of season one. You weren't part of the initial draft, but you were brought in, and
No.
I think we took a little bit to get towards that aggressive side of you because I think we're still figuring out the character itself. To be fair, this is season two and season one are cursed for me. If you watch back, that's a young kid trying to figure out how he's going to even tell stories, and then season three, right when you started getting that character, is when I think I was finding my groove
Yeah.
of how to
Well, I
tell
think at that
characters.
point you also had me and Harvey in your ear helping you out with that point too.
That is true. That is a very good point.
Because at that point we were also doing our own universe mode, so we were trying to incorporate stuff from ours into yours to make it authentic.
And
So
I think it worked masterfully. It turned into, obviously, I was able to grow into my own person in writing, but
yeah,
certainly credit is given where it's due, and that is to you, to Harvey, to Class Par, to the guy who made Scott Cole, to Grudge, to so many guys, and I know I'm not even down the list entirely on everyone who had involvement behind the scenes with not just my own characters, but yours and others. The willingness as well to intertwine or engage with others like you and Kevin Draco, or like just like other people's creations. It's like, yeah, I want to fight them. Yeah, let's see how this goes. Yeah, what do you? Hey, Matt, how do you want to book this? That kind of stuff. Just the crossovers were so cool to happen. But
mm-hmm.
now that you've kind of explained where you were before, I'll dial it back even further, because obviously you love wrestling. Obviously you're a fan of it, or else, yeah, why are you here? As far as how did this start for you? What got you into wrestling? What was that first moment that hooked you into wrestling that you can recall? And kind of who inspired you to growing up? Like what did you look at? Who did you watch? Who did you idolize as well?
So it's gonna sound probably very cliche. Being born in the '90s, being born in '96, actually. I didn't get to watch wrestling much until the early 2000s, around 2005, 2006. So I'm in the height of the scene. I'm in the height of the Cena era of championship form. And who is the first person I see watch on wrestling? Cena. So he's really the big person I got into. RVD, um, watching RVD, Cena, Ray, Triple H, kind of those people from the early 2000s really kind of inspired me a little bit, and then getting to play the games back in the early days, it was one of those things you don't really fully understand how much of a impact that has on you until you start to realize that, hey, a lot of the stuff that you're making now really was impacted based on your stuff that you were watching several years ago. And for me, it was definitely those early 2000s. It was those early 2000s runs for Cena, and going up to now, even watching, and I keep up with stuff not only just outside of WWE, but also just around the independent scene, also, and seeing everything that's happening on the indies and everything like that, seeing how seeing how it has progressed from when I first really started watching just WWE to finding the indies and watching indie wrestling and seeing seeing how that's kind of taken over a little bit more than normal, and it kind of just, like I said, it was one of those big things that a lot of people need to fully understand why they're making wrestlers. Like, what does this really have something to do with something you've watched? Does it really have something you like, or is it just something you're making just to make it?
Right, right. And with that said, so the early 2000s influenced you. Obviously that led into playing video games, um and then slowly getting involved with the community more and more. I saw, like, I think you had joined Blackwire about 2 years ago as well, expanding the reach through the community. But the true interesting detail that the most interesting detail I'm looking to find out, because you never told me, was how did the time with as Colt Lee, the working in the CAW community, or the custom creator wrestler community, translate into a wrestling career? Where did that happen? How did it happen? If you want to talk about it, and go from
Well,
there.
a lot of people, um, really, it wasn't one of those things that was really big. A big thing that happened was you go from the video game side to actual wrestling, stuff like that. It wasn't one of those big things that happens all that often. And, well, what ended up how this ended up happening was a very interesting way of either, I would say, miscommunication, or I wouldn't say miscommunication, but also something I don't really like to talk about because it's something that was something I should have paid a little bit more attention to compared to other stuff. But it was a thing called Star Team Unite. Um, Back in I want to say 2018, 2019. Um, I had started working at a restaurant, and and I knew a lot of the guys from what that was started from, being FAM or Forever Movement. I knew a lot of them, and they were talking to me about starting this whole thing up, getting the character um, Colt Lee involved in it, and wanting to change the whole kind of character around, and that's what you kind of see today. Um, so definitely, um, and then I started talking to one of the trainers there at Star Team, and they were talking to me because they were starting to do wrestling training. Well, well, I had known a bunch of guys around my area that were wrestling in the backyard scene. Yeah, I know, very frowned upon. Um, but they were wrestling in the backyard scene, stuff like that. So I had some trust in them. Um, and around the time that COVID hit, I was kind of just sitting around doing absolutely nothing. So they had invited me out to a show that they were doing, and I was helping out, doing some ring announcing, stuff like that. But something told me I wanted to get in the ring. So I kind of asked them to start kind of helping me train a little bit. So I was watching kind of what was going on in the ring while doing ring announcing, and it's a very it's a very important thing when you start doing this, is that you learn very quickly what you're doing, but also keeping an eye on you're also keeping an eye on what's going on in the ring, because it's a very interesting thing that can wind up happening, where you are getting to see everything that goes on in the ring, every match, every time you step into those ropes, you are literally watching everything that you're trying to learn unfold in front of you. The sooner you get to start learning this up front, or starting to practice it more, to you get to learn it better, and it will stick into your head after a while. For me, that kind of helped start it, and then I was going through because I wanted to get a character, and I kind of remember to myself that I do have a character online that I can on the games that I could use, and I started using Colt Lee for a while, and then it was something that I kind of just kept sticking to the games with Colt Lee, and I didn't want to use it in real life because Colt Lee was something special to me through the CAW community, not just the WWE side, but also like this is how I kind of made friends with this, was through Colt Lee and being a part of these different organizations, being part of these different companies. And I think that's kind of one of the things that kind of persuaded me to go the route. Because, and there's a bunch of people like me that are now going from the video game side and doing this in real life. Um, one of the biggest ones that I know, two of the biggest ones that I know of so far, Kid Bandit and Robert Martyr, two of the biggest guys on the indie scene right now, um, who came from the CAW community, who was doing this like I am, and I still do it. And I'm not saying I'm going to stray away from the CAW community. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you have the opportunity to run with this, run with it, because you won't get another opportunity to really get you won't have another opportunity to really run with a character like I have with Colt, and kind of made it my own thing now.
Well, that's wow. I mean, I do agree with you. Don't let an opportunity pass up. I mean, I've had quite a few opportunities come my way, and especially with universe mode, I've always kind of subscribed to the mentality of, um, well, most of the time, let's give it a shot. Let's see if this is something that I can work with. If I can't, I can't. If I can,
Yeah.
then let's
And I mean, you
turn this
don't
into gold.
always have to be in the ring though either. You could be a good manager, you could be a good ring announcer, you could be a good referee. You just have to know what you're good at on the
Hmm.
in your own mind. Like, can you be good as a manager? Can I be good as a referee? Ring announcing. Like, if you have a certain talent, you know you can do it well.
Hmm.
Run with it.
I agree, and then it's. I mean, for example, you know me. I've said it before on the podcast. I'd like nothing more personally to be than to be a wrestling commentator or even a manager. I don't think I've said the manager
And
part, but
they're
I've definitely.
always looking for people to do that. And it just takes that right company that's willing to give you the opportunity to really just let you flow and allow you to do the stuff that you want to do.
I agree. I mean, in my case, it's just trying to find a company that wants to hear me out. But I think it's
Yeah.
cool. So have you only worked in one company, or has it been multiple companies?
So it's been kind of couple companies here and there, ones that have kind of shut down, and then recently it's been one company, kind of the underground the underground scene. Fairly recently, I started getting into the indie scene, so I got to make my debut with another company on the indie scene, so they know. So I kind of know how that now works, and I've got my foot kind of into the indie scene of wrestling now. So I'm not just working just in the backyard of the underground, however you want to put it. It's more of, hey, I'm now on the indie scene. Uh, I'm now taking this absolutely seriously, even if I don't do it the whole time. I'm now able to say, hey, here's how I'm doing this. Here's what's going on, and be able to I can now be able to really push how far I want to bring myself to it. As do I want to continue on the indie scene? Do I want to do all this stuff for towards wrestling, or do I just kind of want to keep it as like a hobby and just wrestle on weekends, stuff like that?
Hmm. That's fair. So you're part time on the wrestling schedule.
I would definitely say it's definitely part time. I'm not out on the indie. I'm not wrestling every single day on the indie scene and stuff like that.
Fair enough. Well
Would
then,
I love to be? Yes.
on top of that, I know that some companies prefer to keep, just off the top of my head, keep some semblance of mystery. So you don't need to go into detail if you don't want to. But what would you say has been the biggest challenge when it comes to preparation for a match? Like what would you say has been the toughest challenge in setting up a match, whether you're trying to figure out what you're going to do in the match, or even like who's going to win, deciding those things. Is that something that you've decided? Is that something somebody else has decided? What's that process like?
I mean, not to really give stuff away. It really just it's very much story based driven, and a lot of the stuff for the stories are built maybe a year in advance, if not that year that we're doing this stuff. So it takes a little bit of planning to understand everything that's happening, and I want and to let people know that trying to plan out a match is very much more difficult than what you think it is. You have to know what you want to do at the start, your comeback, your fake finish, your hero moment, and then the ending. How you want everything to plan out to make it look smooth, but also enjoyable for the fans. Because if you don't make it enjoyable for the fans, then you're kind of just putting out there a boring match, and the fans aren't going to like it all that much.
That's fair. Do you? I don't know. I haven't seen enough of your work to know. Have you cut promos before? Have they put you out in the ring and you cut a promo, or is it like a backstage recording?
I do more of my talking in the ring, but on occasion I'll do some promos and stuff like that. I'm very much the quiet. I'll do my work. I'll do my work in the in the ring and stuff like that. So I would be more kind of like the Bam Bam or the Umaga type of wrestler, where I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to have to speak unless I absolutely need to.
I got you. That makes a lot of sense. So typically it's just like, hey, I'm focused on tearing apart my opponent, straight to business. Bell rings, I beat the crap out of you, and I leave, kind of deal.
Yes.
I like the straightforward, simple characters for sure. What was Gosh, there's so many questions I want to ask. Trying to pick and choose. Um, did you have anybody help you buy your first in ring gear, or is that like you go on your own and you bring your own stuff kind of deal?
So my first real gear I bought. So my first gear I bought was an all black singlet. Um, and because this was all based on how the character was going to be. I bought gold wrestling shoes, and I went on to, surprisingly enough, went on to Google, and I found Google, or I think it was either Google Shop or eBay, and I found a seller that was doing kick pads online, and I ended up talking with them, and it was the last set that they had to make the kick pads for. Um, and I think overall they were, I think, $100 plus a little bit of shipping. For the kick pads, about $200 for the shoes, and then I think maybe $100 for the all black singlet. But over time, I started to look at more and more, how can I make the outfit better? What can I improve on? And then I started going with a certain color design for the singlet. So I went more with the um, black and orange style, kind of like Taz. Um, and then again, I went to Amazon. That's where I also got the all black singlet. Um, and I went to Amazon. I found a black and white or black and orange singlet that I liked. And then one of the other wrestlers actually showed me a website that was where he would order his stuff from. And I used that, and I to this day it is one of my favorite singlets of all time because it has my logo on it. It has um the, the stuff that makes it stand out just a little bit more, and it's those things that help you increase your character more and more. It's even if it's subtle changes, it's enough to allow you to still connect with the crowd, but allow you to introduce something new to your character that allows it for you to stand out that much.
That's a really good point. I was leaning towards Amazon in my mind, but that is crazy. The boots cost that much. I mean, when you said the price, my eyebrows just shot up. I was like,
I
wow.
mean,
Yeah.
and that's just the price that you pay for good boots, or even like mine are just the normal wrestling shoes that you would use for amateur wrestling.
That is that is crazy. I mean, I've known so I had a buddy of mine um who I think I'm gonna get this number wrong, and I'm sorry if he watches this and I get the number wrong. I think he owned like 40 pairs of basketball shoes at one time. Like he would
Mm-hmm.
he would buy and resell stuff. Some of the price tags that he told me were just outrageous. It would be like $150 for a pair of basketball
Yeah, and
shoes.
it's just depending on like when the shoes were made, how well of a condition they're in.
And were the basket or not basketball? The wrestling shoes, were they used or just brand new?
Brand new.
Oh crap! Wow.
I literally bought them from Dick's Sporting Goods right as I started. It's the same thing with my knee pads. So a lot of people don't realize my knee pads are actually from like a volleyball or like volleyball knee pads.
Oh shoot! No kidding.
Yeah, so a lot of that is actually based or a lot of the knee pads you can't really find very good wrestling knee pads unless you want to pay an absurd amount of money just to get custom ones made. So one of the best things to do is if you can buy them cheap because I've had no real problems with my knee pads ever since I bought them.
Huh. And so you've only had the same pair.
I've had I've literally had the same pair of knee pads since I started wrestling.
Wow, that's some insane durability. Well, that's also a good thing too, because instead of spending a ridiculous amount of money, now you can kind of save money. And in the future, if you wanted to get custom knee pads, you could save up for it. But
Yes, but I also went back. Like I said, I went back. I've been through Amazon and I've looked at all the. I've went through and looked at um, kick pads also. Those custom kick pads I have. I love them to death, and they are the best thing that I've ever done to pay for. And then I've got another pair to go with another to go with my other outfit, just so I don't have to keep wearing the gold ones all the time because it don't match all that often. But I do wear the gold ones on on a very good occasion, just because they are the first ones that I really used, and they are basically measured to fit me the best that they can. So, and if you find the right people, and this is for anyone that wants to get into wrestling, find yourself good people that are willing to help you because you need to be able to trust the people that you are relying your wrestling stuff for. Like for me, and I'm going to be brutally honest here. There are two websites out there. One is good, one is iffy. If you're a bigger guy like me, the one website doesn't really help you out on that minutes. Um, the other one might be able to help you. Just depends on your size, like I said. Elucha and High Spots. Um, you can buy stuff from there. They do have some really good stuff. However, it is very iffy on stuff for bigger people. I have a pair of kick pads there that I can't even wear from. I want to say I think it's High Spots. I can't wear them.
Like,
They're too tight to even put up.
oh,
I can't even get them up around my. I can't even get them up because they're so tight, and that's even taking the whole lacing out of the back of the pad.
wow, that sucks.
I mean, it was again. It was like you said, or like I've said, wrestling equipment is very expensive. So that was $100 right there that I kind of spent thinking, okay, maybe these will fit, but of course they don't fit. Yes, I keep them around in my bag in case someone needs them, and I can pay and I can make some profit off of them.
I mean, that's fair. You can always try and
So
resell it, like you're saying.
yeah, yeah, try and resell your stuff that people would want or whatever, but also look at because I have a bunch of logos made. I have a bunch of stuff ready to go. I just want to make sure that I'm doing this at the right time and really just make sure that I am doing everything correctly. Like, and that would be making stickers, doing T-shirts, stuff like that. Stuff that you know will make you money, but also you need to make sure that you're doing this at the right time of your career. Like right now, I'm not real interested in doing that unless I do this more full time. Then I would start definitely getting more of the stuff made so I can start selling it. And that's a like I said, that's a very big thing you got for anyone that wants to get into the wrestling business. Uh needs to start working on like how do you want your character to look, what type of logo do you want for your character to really help it stand out, and it does make a difference. I don't want anyone to say, oh, it doesn't really make a difference about what your logo looks like and stuff like that. Oh no, it does.
So you have your own logo at the moment, or is it something that you have
I
in the
have
shop?
I have a whole bunch of logos ready to go. I just right now I'm just biding my time on when I want to start doing stickers and t-shirts with them.
I think you 100% should if you that way you can start making an additional profit. But like, are t-shirts something you just sell by yourself at any time, or is it only reserved to like when you're working the shows?
It could be I would be able to sell them pretty much any time because of a website that I can get to do it. I can also buy a couple of them and sell them at the shows too whenever I want to.
Okay, alrighty. And then so, wow, my nose. Ooh, I'm trying to just think. So we cover merch, but you're able to sell them at the shows. Is there is there like a set price that's determined or by whoever's at the shows, or is it just by yourself? Like you set your price for your stuff.
I would be setting the price for my stuff. So to make myself a profit, depending on how many shirts I have, it would depend on, like I said, how many shirts do I have, how many shirts I have for the show. I would kind of determine the price of that. So for me personally, I would be looking at about $20 for a shirt, and that's just because I need to make myself a little bit of a profit because of it.
And the promoters, the companies that you're working the shows for, they don't take any cut from what you sell and what you get.
No,
Okay, all right.
no.
Hey, I was just curious. You never know.
Oh no, and it's a very important thing that people need to realize. Some will do that. It just depends on where you're at and what company you work for. Others will do that just because it's your own money and because you need, and like I said, it's your own money, so you're really paying for the stuff to get some of the profit back for yourself. So that's kind of the big thing there also.
Well, then, as far as the future, I know you can't talk about future plans too much, but are you wrestling in the near future? Do you have any dates lined up?
Um, yes, coming up actually this weekend, I am down near the south to put final touches on a show here um for a company, and then possibly in December I might have one more show lined up for the year. Um, and then headed into next year, it's just more of getting stuff ready to go for basically once December hits, it's kind of planning season for myself, what I need to do, what I need to get ready for next season, um, and more of just planning what I can do, where I can go, and all this.
Fair enough. And something else that came to my mind as well. When it comes to traveling, on average, how far or how long of a drive would you say that you have to make some of these shows?
So the furthest one right now is an hour and a half away from me. And that's because of where it's located at. And on good days, I'm looking at hour and a half. And I'm leaving 9 o'clock in the I'm leaving about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning to be there on time. And then loading up the ring, getting to the venue, setting up the ring, doing stuff before the show. So we have a couple things we have to do, and then doing the actual show, taking the ring down, taking it back, and putting it back away. You're talking almost 13 hours away altogether, plus another hour and a half drive, so 14 and a half hours.
That's great.
So
So you're putting a lot of miles on, or because you're not driving much, you don't find yourself putting as much miles on, in your own
I don't
opinion.
find myself, I don't find myself putting a whole lot of miles on because kind of, I'm kind of booking it with other people. So I'll kind of carpool with other people that way. It's easier on everyone else. But also it's because I have really good people that are also wrestling in the same company that travel down that way also. Um, and there's literally three of us that have become pretty much the best of almost brothers to each other just because done we've done this for years with each other, and now we get to really experience it all together. Um, Finally, for I would think maybe a couple more years left for maybe one or both of them, and then I'm pretty much on my own. Because like I'm gonna be brutally honest here. I'm 27, going on 28 here coming up. I got a late start into this whole wrestling thing, and it is a very hard thing for someone like my age to be get into wrestling just of how late I got because of how late it was getting into wrestling. So it's one of those things that it you don't if you get into it early enough, you're fine. However, if you get to it late, you might have backed yourself up into a corner, and it's a very hard corner to get out of.
I mean, that's I agree. The older you get, or the later start you have, the harder it can be. I mean, I'm the same way where unfortunately there's no local wrestling business around me. Like any companies that started up dropped off before I kind of reached any kind of adult age. And then nothing's around. It's all like 5 hours away, 4 hours away from me in any direction, which sucks because like me, I just to reiterate it again, I want to get involved in the business, whether it's as a manager, graphic designer, editor, writer, commentator, and you're stuck with, well, nothing's around, so you either join the Fed or you go for the big companies, and they're going to turn you down
Yeah.
because you're not in the business. So it's like, well, that kind of sucks because I just want to help somebody make somebody into something. I want to, and that's why I love doing the podcast. Like, shoot, if you wanted to recommend the podcast to two buddies of yours, and they want to be on as guests, I would be more than happy to do it because then it's me giving them a platform to talk about their wrestling careers, their experience,
Hmm.
and to highlight them. I want to give back to the wrestling business any way I can, and if this is the way to do it, where I just got to show my personality, I'd love to be a part of it and help that with that process. But as for you, you're traveling all these distances, all these ways to do what you love, even on a part-time basis. I think that's incredible. I think that's one of the coolest things to be able to live the dream. In my opinion, I don't have the look to be a wrestler. Um, Not saying I can't be a wrestler. I just don't think that I got the look for it. But I think getting to live the dream is something truly incredible. And even when I have moments where I'm close to it and I can feel it, I just get so excited and so passionate because I can feel it. It's on the tips of my fingertips. But then when I fall short or I miss it, it just feels like grains of sand, and you're trying to grip it as hard as possible to still try and have that, and you got to pick yourself back up. And I'm talking about like applications. I'm talking like reaching out to people, and they're like, "Nah, we're good. We don't need you." And it's like, man, I want to be in it. I want to be in it. But to talk to somebody that is in it and spends the money, puts in the time, puts in the effort, puts in the work, and gets the results, I think what you're doing is incredible. I think the fact that you're doing this to help entertain other people, I think your heart's in the right place. I think your mind's in the right place. Um, yeah, and I hope that you continue to grow and you continue to prosper in the indie scene. I'd love to see some of your designs too.
Eventually, like I said, they will all the designs will eventually come out for t-shirts or stickers, whatever. It's just it's taken me the time to find the right stuff that I want to use and want to really make it my own thing. And it's one of those weird it's one of those weird things with me where it's one of those things where I want it to be perfect to make sure that I'm not messing up or anything like that.
Hmm. Well, I'm trying to think. I know there's more wrestling questions I want to ask, but I also know that there's certain things that need to be protected, and I don't want to pry too hard upon the secrets of the business. Um, what I'll hit you with this, and you don't need to go in detail with it if you're trying to keep some of the curtains still up. What would you say was the biggest challenge in your first match? Like just getting over the hump. What were you most worried about? And was it as difficult or was it as problematic as you thought it would be?
So, and unfortunately, there's no link for the first match right now. My first ever match. So let me say this now. My first ever match really was a fatal four-way match. So I really didn't really have to do much in the match. I was just kind of there learning from everyone, but also trying to do my own thing over in there also. And so I it is a very difficult thing to it is a very difficult thing to go into a fatal four way being very, very new to the business. Um After that, um it was definitely it started getting a lot easier because I kinda had people willing was there to not only help me, but was there to kinda guide me along to allow me a way of helping myself learn, basically is how I kinda wanna put it. My first couple years was mainly to learn everything that I can, but also kinda be in my own way, if that makes any sense. I kinda wanted to do things my own way, but also trying to learn from everyone that I can around me.
No, no, I think that makes sense. I'm picking up what you're putting down is the phrase I'll use. I figured I'm stepping on uneven ground. I know that there's only so much that some people want to give away, and I totally respect it. But I'm thinking there is a couple more questions that I do want to ask you, and these are questions that I typically ask everyone. Um, we covered that. We covered that. What is a goal that you wish to have? But I'm going to change this question slightly. What's a goal that you have in the wrestling business? What's something you want to achieve before it's all said and done? What do you want to ultimately accomplish at least once?
Me, it's being able to hold a major championship, whether it's the world title or one minor titles of a company, and hold on there and hold on to the title for a while.
Do you think, at least in that mindset, or with the companies that you're in, is that an opportunity that you see yourself having in the near future, or is that something where you'd have to probably be a full-time guy, being on the road all the time, hitting the dates, hitting the venues to get an opportunity at something like that?
I definitely think it's gonna happen here in the near future. I just there's stuff happening that I can't really say that's going on yet, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right, fair enough. I respect it. I was immediately like, oh, and then I was like, oh, all right, I won't pry. I'll let things play out. Well, where, if you want to share, where would be some places that people can find some of your matches, or find some of your buddies' matches as well, so that they can give them their support if they
Um,
want?
so the main company we're a part of right now is called DBW, or Dominant Breakout Wrestling. That is on YouTube. We've starting. They have a lot of history. So it's definitely something that um, it has a lot of history. And it's something now that I have now basically become. I'd almost call it a family. It is very, it is a very fun atmosphere. It is a very likable atmosphere. And it's something that if you really want to see what we do besides any other true wrestling company besides the WWE, we are one of the best in the way of proving of I would even say storytelling. What we plan, what we do with storytelling is beyond better than most companies. I wouldn't say WWE, but what we do with storytelling definitely helps tell a story for the matches that happen.
I think that's fantastic. So there you go. If anybody wants to check them out, feel free to give them your support, not just to my fellow host here for this episode, or my guest here on this episode, but also anybody else in the promotion. I think you're a man of great character, and I don't mean that in a character sense, scripted sense. I mean in a reality sense. I think you have strong character, and from what I've known about you, and when you say that there's strong storytelling, when it's a family atmosphere, when you go there, it's gonna be that wrestling feel, that passion, that fire, that electricity, the energy in the building. I believe it, and it's something that I would look forward to going to. So I think that's great. I'm gonna check it out myself. I'm gonna give my support where I can. But typically, when it comes to, I'm gonna segue here slightly. Typically, when it comes to my guests, I always give them the hour marker, and then anything afterwards is kind of considered. Well, it is considered overtime. So I definitely think that, based upon the hints that you've made, we're probably gonna have a part two. We're probably gonna have a part two of you here, and I look forward to it. But I'll ask one or two final questions before we start wrapping it up. The first being, what is a lesson that you have learned in the wrestling business or in the creator wrestler community that you would like to impart or pass along to anybody else that's just getting started, that's been in it for a while, or maybe has already been done with it? Either way, what kind of wisdom would you pass along to anybody about the wrestling business or the creator wrestler community?
So, and this goes for either way. Always listen to the people who are more experienced than you. They will give you their best interest in what they think is the best way for you to go forward, whether it is creation wise or wrestling wise. It is your best interest to listen to the veterans or the people that have the most knowledge of what's going on. Listen, listen, listen is your best technique in any form right now.
I like that. The student mentality. I agree with you. I mean,
Even to this day where I think I know something, I'm still learning stuff.
yeah. Well, I mean, case in point. I mean, you and Harvey had more experience when we spoke at the time, and I feel like it's important to always be a student of the game, no matter if you have 20 years of experience. To your point, 5 years, 2 minutes of experience, you can always learn something new. You can always learn something to help up yourself and other people, or pass along to other people. So I agree with
Yes.
that. I think that's great advice. But my second question, my part two, who would you say, like everyone else who's been on the podcast so far, do you have a Mount Rushmore for? Would you say that you've got a Mount Rushmore for the CAW community or no?
I mean, I really wouldn't say I have one for the call community. Just because, like I said, I don't really am into call. I'm not. I'm there, but I'm also kind of in the very far backgrounds in the shadows of the call community.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, then we can skip that if you want.
I mean, if I had to pick some of the ones that I know based off of who I've worked with, I would have to say, for a couple of my buddies over at Carpe Diem Network, Deshaun Walton, Cody Hagan, um, and then honestly, if I'm going to say it, my buddies over at FAM, um, two of the two of the most uh, two of the most generous guys that I've got to talk with and kind of keep up with. Ron Buster over in Malta, um, and over in um, and then what other Cameron Bash over in England was the other one, and we've talked, and they've kind of reassured me that um, I definitely am doing the right thing with where I'm at, doing doing this whole thing. And I mentioned Ron Buster. Um, I want to give a quick shout out to him. Um, man, um, started off as a teacher over there in Malta and is now on the Malta wrestling scene over there. So um, maybe in the future that will happen. But I want to say congrats to him. I don't get to say it enough for it to him because we don't get to talk all that often because he's again other side of the world. Definitely a lot harder to talk to. Um, but to him, I want to say congrats on getting to where some of us are at now. It is a long, hard road for a lot of us to get there, and I'm now very much looking forward to seeing who all from this community is the next one to join us. I know there's been a bunch of them that have been out training. Um, I know there's been a bunch that have been out wrestling or getting ready to start wrestling. So this community has only gotten bigger, not just for me, but for a lot of the indie scene now with a lot of us gamers now wrestling, getting into the wrestling scene. So for a lot of us, it's now not just a video game; it's now a real life thing that is now happening.
I think that's well said, and I think that's some good selections, especially since they all mean a lot to you. And with that said, then I'll pivot, but I'll keep it the same kind of question. Who would you say is your Mount Rushmore when it comes to wrestling all time? It can be those people that you just named, or it can be the wrestling business on who impacted you beforehand, like Razor Ramon, or I'm just rattling off some wrestlers, Undertaker. Who'd you say is your Mount Rushmore
I
in
mean,
wrestling?
if I'm going to go based on my Mount Rushmore, kind of the people that I watched helping me, and to this day I go and watch the tapes on. One was Yokozuna, the big man was the big man. Second one was Umaga. Um, Third was um, um, ooh, I would say third would have to probably be um, just the charisma. With the charisma and all, I would have to say Dusty Rhodes. And then fourth, I would definitely have to say would be um, Cena. Honestly, just the way he was, just the way his promos were in the ring is kind of how I wanted to talk. But I knew that was unique to Cena, so I almost had to find my own kind of light for talking if I ever to do promos. So that is one of the big things. I think those are my big four for my Rushmore. I think it's the best. Those are kind of the big ones. If you're a big guy like me, definitely like Bam Bam and Vader, Yokozuna, Umaga, Psycho Sid, Mabel. Those big guys that could move in the ring and just allow you to see what a big man was. He wasn't a just wasn't these big men that were just laying down heavy shots. They were moving like they were like they had the ability of a cruiserweight almost.
Right, right. Well, I think those are all great picks. I mean, you said it yourself. Some of those guys are so talented for the size that they are and so agile, deceivingly agile, because a lot of people make assumptions upon appearance when they get in the ring and it's like, that guy can't move. And then they can just work. And it's like, wow, that is incredible. I mean, Bam Bam, Vader, Umaga. I mean, bunch of guys that you named. Mabel. There's there's so many guys who I watch back, and I didn't grow up with a lot of them, but when you watch back, you're like, wow, that is insane, just how incredible that is. But to me, I'm always fascinated when it comes to the business. But I digress. The last question I have for you is, where can everyone find you, or where would you tell anybody to find you at? Whether it's your wrestling promotion socials that you already stated, or any other kind of socials that they might want to follow you by.
So, if you want to follow my wrestling journey, I do have a Instagram at big underscore FN underscore tex. You can follow me there. You can follow all that we do at DBW on the YouTube channel at Dominant Breakout Wrestling. You could um, follow the if you have Facebook, you can follow the Facebook page. We do have updates there. Everything happens. everything through there, like rankings and everything of everyone in the company. Um, and now, and then something to look for on the menu also is TikTok has now been taking off for me lately with everything. So I've been posting some clips and stuff of my certain matches on my TikTok, and you can follow me there at Wrestling Fan 1996. You'll see some stuff on there for wrestling, and yeah, kind of a few things that I've been dabbling in, trying to get myself out there a little bit. So hopefully, um, trying to get myself up there a little bit. Uh, Eventually, it'll take off more and more. So, um, just if you guys want to follow, go ahead. I don't bite. I won't do anything bad to you. Trust me.
The gentle giant is what you're trying to say, right?
Yep.
Well, either way, I think that does it for at least this episode. I have a feeling that we'll have you on again in the near future, and I look forward to that day. But final remarks. Thank you again for being willing to do this.
Yeah. I think, like you said, this is a different side that people really need to see. Like, it's not a lot of us out there, but the more it gets out there, the more there will be. And I
I
think,
Yep.
think it needs to be out there for people to see. Like, hey, we come from a whole different side of the wrestling community that love doing this on the games. So we want to do it in real life now, and it has allowed us to, and that officially has allowed, and we have now officially almost started taking over the wrestling scene because of it.
I agree, and I want to leave the door open as well. I mean, I'll probably say it after we're done recording. If you have anybody as well in your company or anybody else in the wrestling world that is interested in doing any kind of podcasts, you can always let them know, offer up the DDT podcast or reach out to me. I'm always willing to try and have people on here. I know this is only the 4th episode, but I'm always willing to try and give wrestlers a platform to help promote them, help get their name out there a little bit more on the indie scene or any wrestler in general, whether it's the CAW community or the one where you're gracing the 20 feet by 20 feet. But either way, Mr. Colt Lee, to quote a little bit of poetry and somebody that you named on your Mount Rushmore, but I'll tweak it slightly, I have truly, in this hour and a half, wined and dined with a true king. I know that I am a king myself in the name only, but in my opinion, I have truly sat down with a legend in the call community, a legend in my eyes, especially with all you've done for me in my own channel and my own brand, and I am eternally grateful. And thank you again one last time for being on this show.
Yeah. And like I said, it was definitely something that I said needed to be out there, and I'm glad someone was willing to hear not only just hear my side, but allow me to give people the chance to allow people the opportunity to not only hear from someone that that you want to be in, for someone that has done this itself, but also allowed you to it also allows them to have done it. Will be willing to help people get maybe help people understand the concept of character building and stuff like that for on a personal level. So it just takes time, and if you are on the Blackwire Discord and you want to get involved in it, you know where to find you. You can find me um, there most of the times. I'm just in the background talking. Um, I'm in the background there, just kind of observing and stuff like that. So just if you are getting involved in the in the community, and you kind of have, and you don't really have an idea of how you want your character to be, whatever, in the community, in the wrestling world, give me a heads up, and I'll kind of help you out, kind of ask you how you present your character, whatever, if you want to be based off of your actual creative wrestler, or if you want something completely different.
Sounds good. Well, either way, thank you again. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you as well for tuning in to the 4th episode of the DDT Podcast. We'll have to see who we can get on next time. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I bid you adieu from this YouTube channel and from the Mad Army, at least for today. But thank you all so much again. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel, of course, if you choose. Most importantly, and as always, suit up Mad Army as well. Feel free to check out the other episodes of the DDT Podcast. And feel free to come back with anybody that we bring on in the future. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And we'll see you around on next time. Bye.